DNS. Dynamic DNS is really important for registering computers with the DNS server. If you have computers booting up in the network and this computer do not register with the DNS server, it's not useful because it's difficult to find this computer using the domain name. Even though they're showing up here on the DHCP server. For example, if I expand my DHCP scope and I click on address list, notice that I have this computer here, which is tech01. If I ping that computer to make sure that computer is up and running on the network. Alright, so if you try to ping a computer, let's say for example that I want to ping tech01 and it's not resolving, it could be due to several reasons, but one, it could be to the fact that by default the ping command is trying to use the IP version 6 instead of IP version 4. In order to force the ping command to use IP version 4, use the -4 option, then followed by the computer name. And as you can see, we're getting reply from that computer, which is good. But notice that that computer, if we go to my DNS zone, we don't have an A record for that computer. Let me go ahead and refresh. We don't have an A record. So we want the computer, as soon as the computer boots on the network and requests an IP address, we want the DHCP server to register that IP address on the domain name. In order to do that, I'm going to click on IP version 4, right click and go to properties. And here on the DNS, I want to make sure that always dynamically update DNS record is selected. Okay, and that is very important. And I'm going to click apply and OK. Another very important thing here is to authorize the scope. If the computer, if the server where the DHCP is running is a standalone server, then you don't need to do this. But if the server is a domain controller or is a server that is part of the domain, you need to authorize the DHCP in Active Directory for security reasons, so you don't have computers running rogue DHCP on the network. In order to do that, I'm going to right click on the server and click authorize. So if you right click on it, it should set here unauthorized. If you right click and you see authorize here, this means that your DHCP server has not been authorized in Active Directory. So make sure it says unauthorized. Once your DHCP server is authorized, is correctly set up and running, and then the next thing, in order to test whether or not dynamic DNS is working in the network, is to go over the client machine and force it to renew the IP configuration. So let's do window R, CMD, and here let's do IP config, renew. Okay, so let's go back to the server. If I click on my DNS domain name and refresh, okay, sometimes you need to deactivate the scope and reactivate it again. So let's do that. Deactivate, and let's go ahead and activate the scope. Another thing that you might want to do is to click on the server and on the task, go ahead and click stop. This is going to stop the service, and then right click again and start. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete this record, and let's try to renew IP configurations again. Let me do release, and this operation needs privilege escalation. So let's type command and run as administrator, and let's do ipconfig release and ipconfig renew. Okay, so let's go back to the server again, click on DNS, refresh, and this time it worked.